Good day, my friends. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. For this adventure, folks, we are heading out on this gravel road. We're going to travel this for like 30 miles. We are looking for a campsite. The thing is, it has to be a really good campsite, and that's because it is windy, and later on tonight, it's going to get really windy. Because the winds are going to pick up, we need to make sure that we have a campsite that's somewhat shielded from the wind. So that is the plan, everybody. With this adventure, this is an inexpensive camp out. All of the gear, for the most part, is very inexpensive. And anytime you go out with inexpensive gear, it's fun. It's interesting. So folks, let's hit the road. Let's go find a campsite. My friends, we have made it to where I'm going to camp at. Up there with the 4Runner, I have a beautiful spot. It is perfect. What really has my attention right now is what is looking like a wildfire, not terribly far away from here. I'm seeing a lot of smoke, and in fact, I've been seeing the smoke from this fire for like the last 40 miles. I knew it was out there somewhere, and here it is. As soon as I get back to the campsite, I'll grab my phone and I'll see if I can find out some information about this. Interesting, my friends. Interesting. It is perfect today. The temperature is right at 40 degrees. It is somewhat breezy, but it's perfect. These are my conditions right here. Anyways, folks, let's head back to the 4Runner, grab our phone, and let's check on this wildfire. What we have is a wildfire that has burned 10 acres so far. At this time, there is zero containment of this fire. That is something that we need to keep an eye on. I do not believe that we are in any sort of danger. In fact, the wind direction is blowing away from us. Because of that, we shouldn't have any issues when it comes to smoke or anything like that. With having that fire so close to us, it does tell me that it's very dry here. Even though the ground is somewhat moist, the leaves, the trees, the brush, everything is super dry. Because of that, we really do need to be careful if we're going to have a fire tonight. That is something that I will need to consider very carefully. It is possible tonight, I'll just say no fire. Ultimately, the deciding factor is the wind. Camp is almost set up. I have the tent ready and I have the canopy ready as well. When it comes to the tent, this is the MC2 mount 2-person tent. I recently got this in to begin testing it out and I've been shocked by this tent. It is so good for the money. Speaking of which, I purchased this off of Amazon for 72 bucks. $72, and this tent is massive. It has 2 huge awnings. So far, I'm definitely impressed with this tent. I have not waterproof tested it yet. When it comes to the canopy here, this is from Coleman. I brought this out for shade. It is going to be a bright and sunny day today. There's no chance of rain, so I figured that we would set this up and have a good place not only to get out of the wind, but also to get out from the sun. The majority of you do not know that roughly 4.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with skin cancer. That is a battle that I've been fighting for a long time. And in fact, I'm still fighting it to this day. I'll talk more about that later on, but that does play a part into the sun protection that I have here. Anyways, I'm going to finish setting up the tent. I need to get out my sleeping pad. Wait until you see this thing. And I also need to get my sleeping bag. Inside of this tent, I have a double sleeping pad. If I'm not mistaken, this is made by a Ukrainian company, and I picked this up for like 40 bucks, something like that, super inexpensively. All of the gear that you have seen so far is rather inexpensive, with one exception. When it comes to camping in cool to cold conditions, this is one item that you should not go cheap on. There is a huge difference between good quality sleeping bags and poor quality sleeping bags. And when it comes to your insulation layers, you don't gamble on those. It would be like purchasing a $7 water filter off of Temu. That's just a bad idea. We just received a weather alert, increased fire danger across western North Carolina, in effect now. Fire danger statements have been issued for all of western North Carolina and Georgia. Gusty winds will coincide with low humidity and dry fuel. That explains the wildfire that we have burning over here. Because of that, everybody, it is a bad idea to have a fire tonight, so we simply will not have one. That's a shame. I was looking forward to it, but it is what it is. I was actually thinking about this matter while I was setting up camp here, and my thought kept going back to, you would be a complete jack to have a fire when there's a forest fire right over there. You know what I mean? So, okay, well, that solves that issue. I don't have to think about it anymore. So, we're not going to have a fire tonight, but at the same time, we'll still have a good time. You know, everybody, because it's so windy, I'm thinking about setting up a wall with this canopy here. That way I could be inside of this and be fully protected from the wind. As you all can see, I have the tarp set up now basically as a wall. So I'm inside of this, underneath this canopy, and it's blocking all of the wind that's going around us. Throughout this forest, the wind has been picking up over the last 20 minutes. But I can tell you this, underneath this, I feel absolutely nothing. This is awesome. This coffee, everybody, smells so incredibly good. This is a chocolate sort of coffee. Amazing. I mean, it really is. The entire area smells like coffee and chocolate, which is awesome. I've been keeping an eye on the fire. It continues to burn on. There's still quite a bit of smoke out towards the east here. It's funny, I didn't even think it would be really that dry out this way. I mean, back at home, we've been receiving so much rain, everything's soaked, everything's super muddy, but up here, everything is surprisingly dry. As far as the time goes, it is now 4:34. It says it is 55 degrees, and the humidity is 18%. So without a doubt, that is very low, especially here for the mountains. At the same time, it's quite windy. The method of making coffee that I've used in this episode is what is known as cowboy coffee. Basically, you boil some water, you put in your coffee grounds, you let it boil for about 5 minutes, then you turn it off. Then you pour in just a little bit of cold water. That cold water takes all of the grounds and forces them down to the bottom of the kettle. That way, when you go to pour your coffee, there's no grounds in it. This is my favorite way of making coffee. It is so good. The flavor is very smooth, and they say that there's less acid in it because of the way that it's made. A little while ago, I mentioned that I've been dealing with skin cancer for the last 4.5 years, and that is accurate. Many years ago, I was out on a day hike. I'll actually show you some footage of that trip. While hiking over those fields, I received a phone call. That phone call informed me that I had skin cancer. So the history behind that, the story behind that is this. 4.5 years ago, I had a dry spot right on the edge of my finger develop, right next to my fingernail. At first, I thought nothing about it, so I put some lotion on it, continued on. Over time, the spot got bigger and bigger, so I went to a dermatologist, a nasty woman. She told me that it was eczema, and I told her, I don't have eczema, I don't have an issue with dry skin, this is unusual. She didn't want to hear it, she gave me some cream stuff to put on it, so I did that. I followed her directions. So I put the cream on it, and it really got worse. I mean, it doubled in size in no time. I went back to her, I told her that her treatment wasn't working, she told me to double up on it. Basically, put the cream on, wrap it in plastic, that way it really soaks into it. I did as she instructed, and it really got bad, so I went to another dermatologist, they did a biopsy, and it was skin cancer. Basically, the treatment that she had been telling me to do made it go into overdrive, and it begun to spread on my finger. Because of the location of the cancer on the edge of my finger, this dermatologist could not do anything about it because it's somewhat rare. They referred me to someone who ultimately was just a surgeon. I figured I was going to go see a cancer doctor of sorts, but that's not the case. They wanted to perform a procedure known as Mohs. The Mohs process works like this. They cut at the infected site, then they look at it under a microscope. If the cancer is still there, they continue to cut. Again, they look at it under a microscope and keep on going until the cancer is gone. This individual who I'd been referred to, the only thing that he does was surgery. He cuts, that's it. I asked him for other treatment options and he wouldn't even discuss them. So I went looking for an oncologist. Ultimately, I found one off of the mountains, so I went down there thinking that maybe I can get some radiation on my finger because I did not want to lose it. This guy I liked a lot. He had a great sense of humor, and in general, he was just a really nice guy. Anyway, he took a look at my finger and I told him what I told that surgeon. When the surgeon said that he wanted to cut on my finger, I said, "Are you out of your mind? There's no way that I'm losing my digits. There's no way. I'm too proud. I'm not going to." This doctor here, he started laughing and he said he agreed with me 100%. He said that he deals and works with so many people who have gone to these surgeons who are basically butchers. Oftentimes you don't have to have surgery to remove the cancer in some cases. Now, of course, I'm talking about skin cancer. In some cases, you do not have to have it cut off. There's other treatment options. So we discussed radiation. That was the plan. I went home. That's when I received a phone call from him. He stated that he had been discussing my case with other doctors because the location of my cancer was so rare. It originated underneath my fingernail and was coming outwards. He referred to some of his colleagues because there's really no telling what radiation would do to a finger and a fingernail. because again, this is extremely uncommon. So when talking to those other doctors, one of them recommended a type of chemotherapy cream. So that's what I did. I started with a chemotherapy cream, which basically causes the cancer to stop growing and it falls off. It takes a long period of time. I want to say that I was treated for about 4 months, something like that. I had to go through round after round after round of this stuff. So basically I would do so many weeks on, I would stop, let it heal, do it again. Let it heal, do it again. Ultimately, we got to the point where we believe all of the cancer is gone. Now, of course, there is a question here. Because the cancer originated under my fingernail, basically there's no test that can determine whether or not we got all of the cancer. The individual stated, in 10 years, you might have a problem. Or maybe we got it all. There's simply no telling. Fast forward 4.5 years, I now have cancer on this hand, skin cancer. Now it's interesting, with the type of cancer that I have, there's a high percentage of individuals who, if they get it on one hand, they then get it on the other hand. Apparently, I fall within that percentage. On my hand here, I've been treating this spot with the same chemotherapy cream for the last couple of months, and everything's going well. In fact, I just stopped the treatment, it's healing up, and it's looking good. So there you have it, everybody. That's my battle with cancer so far. And of course, it's just one of those things that I face, that you may face, others will face. Skin cancer is extremely common, and there can be all sorts of different causes, root causes. For an example, being out in the sun is a possible cause. Another possible cause is injury. Speaking of injuries, many years ago, I was a practicing blacksmith. And so I was working away and I went down to grab a piece of metal, and it turns out it was super hot. I thought it had cooled down, but it didn't. And it severely burned the tip of my finger straight across. And we believe that is the source of the cancer. I am so thankful for that doctor that I found. We had one guy who just wanted to cut my finger off, and we had this individual who wanted to explore other options, who would actually listen to me. You know, folks, you have to be your own advocate. If you get some bad news and you don't like what someone's saying to you, get a different opinion. Get a second opinion. Get a third opinion. Listen to your gut. Trust your instincts. That's what I did, and now I still have my finger. I was born with this finger, and I'm going to keep it no matter what. That's the decision that I made, my friends. Now, talking about skin cancer and all that stuff, the reason why I didn't tell you all until now is pretty simple. There was no telling what exactly was going to happen. With the treatment that I was doing, with the location of my cancer, there was a lot of unknowns. Nobody knew exactly how this was going to work, but it worked out incredibly well. In this case, the chemotherapy cream was able to penetrate through the nail, into the cancer, through the skin and whatnot, and I'm good to go. Hopefully. As far as I know, I'm good to go. In the last 4 years, I have not seen any sort of sign that the cancer is back. Yes, I do have it on this hand, but more than likely that's due to sun exposure. And that, everyone, is why I'm wearing sunblock and I'm underneath this canopy here. I'm doing what I need to do to stay out of the sun and to be cancer-free. Cheers, everyone. Cheers. Oh man, it's just part of the journey, you know what I mean? Hopefully, no one's going to face the same thing, but unfortunately, that's just how it goes, right? That's life. Skin cancer is extremely common. Cancer is extremely common. It's just something that we may all face. Hopefully not, but the odds are pretty high in that favor. That's why you got to enjoy every single day. No excuses, right? You work hard, you play hard, you do what you want to. You have to make life have a meaning. For myself, I like to make videos and share them with you all. And hopefully I can inspire someone to get out, to trust their gut, to get a second opinion or a third opinion. Yeah. Oh man. Anyways, folks, this coffee's very good. In regards to the new 4Runner, I am pleased that everybody loves it as much as I do. All of the feedback has been fantastic, and I really do appreciate it. So far, the name is D2, Drifter 2. Tony wanted me to call it Wank Wank, but that's too close to his van, which is called Tug Tug. He has some sort of obsession with like tugging and wanking. I don't know. It's confusing to me. I have no idea. You need to ask him about it, everybody. Feel free to tell Tony from AB Camping that I sent you. Anyways, folks, I did see some questions concerning the 4Runner here, and I'll go ahead and address those for you. I purchased this brand new. This is the 2023 model, not the 2024. I found this on a lot, and I got a killer discount because it was a 2023, and that's because they had 2024s on the lot. I was able to get this for $5,000 under the sticker price, in addition to the unreal trade-in that I got for my Tundra. Then, once you factor in the tax write-off, I really did great on this purchase. So far, I'm loving the vehicle. I mean, she goes everywhere, and it does so effortlessly. This has the TRD package along with the XP package. The XP package is solely for the Southeast, and basically it's a blackout package, and it has some of the options from the TRD Pro model. Everything's been blacked out. We have the off-road tires and all that stuff. Again, everybody, I love this vehicle, and it's nice to be back to a 4Runner. For now, the name is D2 until we come up with something better. And no, Wank Wank is not better. Tony, you. It really is a shame that we can't have a fire tonight. Right now would be the perfect time to have a fire going. Oh well, that's how it goes. Not today, not today. I could still see smoke from that fire, but it doesn't seem like it's as much as before. By the way, that fire is less than 20 miles away. In fact, I could smell it from here. I could smell it as soon as I pulled into this spot. As far as the time goes, it is now 6:09. The sun goes down at 7:36, and it comes up at 7:32. Since it's not a good idea to have a fire, I do have a heater with me if I want to use it. I really don't think there's going to be a point to, but I do have that option. Speaking of heaters, a few days ago I received a message from a lady. She was trying to tell me that running a heater inside of your tent will make your tent leak. And that is not true. The only situation where that would be possible is if like you had extreme heat inside of your tent, like so hot that it caused the seam tape to come off and the coatings to melt. That would be incredibly hot. I mean, ridiculously hot. I tried to explain this to her, but unfortunately she did not want to hear it. She got a little bit nasty. Oh well, I don't care. The thing is with the channel, with talking to people, I don't argue. Like, I'm not going to waste my time on it, right? What she is talking about and what she's experiencing with a heater inside of a tent is this. When you run a propane heater, a propane stove, burning propane releases moisture. So it's not like the tent is leaking. It's the moisture from burning the propane. It's not that the tent is leaking. Unless she's like in a Stan Sports tent or something like that. Then it might actually be leaking. Who knows? But anyways. It's funny. I've discovered over the years after talking to literally tens of thousands of people, there's a group of people who want information, who are interested in the outdoors, who want to learn. Then there's a handful of people, a small number of people, who just want to argue. I have to admit, I love emails and messages like that. They are so interesting, so funny. I tell you, some people are just really, really strange, really out there. I'm sure someone says the same thing about me, though. That Luke guy, he sure is weird. He sure is strange. For dinner tonight, folks, I have Japanese-styled mustard mayonnaise noodles with broccoli, peppers, chicken thigh, which I fried up with pepper, garlic, and salt. This is amazing. That mustard mayonnaise gives it such a unique flavor. That is awesome. Oh man, I nailed it tonight, everybody. I'll tell you what, let's try the chicken thigh. Chicken thighs are awesome. That is amazing. Sake. Superior sake. Man, this is good. Bob and Deborah, thank you so much for sending this to me. I really do appreciate it. I love sake, folks. I'm not much of a drinker, but I tell you what, I could probably drink this every single day. I'm not going to, but I definitely could. This tastes almost like water. I mean, there's no burn. It's very smooth. It's dangerous. Really, really dangerous. I don't know why this just popped in my mind, but many years ago, I went out for a kayaking overnight adventure, right? I went to this place called Snake Island. So I paddled out, it was a hot day. As soon as I got to the island, I grabbed a beer. Now, I hadn't eaten anything all day, so I'm sitting there, it's hot. I slammed down that beer, right? That just went straight to my head. I went and set up my hammock, I tied it up. I tied up the fly, I go to sit down in it. Apparently I did a terrible job of tying it up and I fell straight down on my butt. I started laughing about it. I knew exactly what was going on. Stood up, tied up the hammock, sat in it, and fell straight down to the ground again. Yes. I know what you're thinking. We don't have to say it. As far as the elevation goes, we are at 3,162 feet. This is all part of the Pisgah National Forest. You're looking at 500,000 acres, 801 square miles. The Pisgah National Forest is huge. I mean, it really is. Dinner was incredible. This sake is amazing. So good. The chicken thighs, that made that dish so tasty. If you haven't had a chicken thigh before, get some. Salt, pepper, garlic. Oh, so good. It's been quiet out here today. I haven't heard anybody, haven't seen anybody. No one's going up and down the road, which is surprising. Now that it's beginning to warm up, this place is going to become packed. Everybody likes coming out here to the Pisgah National Forest. Go explore the gorge, the Grand Canyon of the East, as it's called. It's a beautiful place. This is part of a wilderness area, and it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. There's a lot of hiking, backpacking, rock climbing and stuff. There's a lot of possibilities out here, but this is a very remote location and people do go missing. Rock climbers, they do fall to their deaths. People have to be rescued. Black Hawk helicopters, I mean, it happens all the time out here. The temperature's dropping, everybody. It's just about time for me to hop inside of the tent. As far as the time goes, it's after 8 o'clock now. The watch says it's 53 degrees. I think it's a little bit colder than that. I think it's in the upper 40s. I'll tell you what, everybody, I'm going to finish this up, brush up, and I'll see you all in the tent in just a bit. Cheers. This stuff is so good. I mean, it's like drinking water. It is now 9 o'clock. It is very windy outside. I am very glad I did not start a fire tonight. Speaking of fires, the Enhanced Fire Danger Watch, whatever it's called, it has been extended through tomorrow night. I think we could have had a fire, but it's just best not to. I tell you what, it's getting cold. I'm ready to cover up, get warm. You know, going back to like the purpose of this trip, it's all about like budget camping. Every single component here is rather inexpensive with the exception of the sleeping bag. You know, when it comes to insulation, you really have to count on it, right? You can go camping with an inexpensive tent if it doesn't rain, right? All you need is bug protection, basic moisture protection. But when it comes to your insulation layers, you really do need to spend some money on those. Oftentimes when it comes to inexpensive sleeping bags and whatnot, they simply do not perform well. Whereas a cheap, inexpensive tent can perform well, but that's simply not the case when it comes to sleeping bags. If you're talking about cool to cold conditions, if you're talking about like summertime temps where it's nice and hot, it really doesn't matter that much. But when it gets cool, when it gets cold, it does. Everybody, I'm going to bed. I will see you all in the morning. Good night for now. As an update, everybody, it is now 9:30 and the winds are absolutely roaring outside. I mean, it is windy. Again, I am very glad I did not have a fire. That would have been a mistake. My plan is to turn off the lights, go to bed. I will see you all in the morning. Good night for now. Good morning, everybody. It's working its way towards 8 o'clock. Let's see. This says it's 52 degrees. It is not 52 degrees. I don't know where that weather station's at, but it's completely wrong. The temps are in the upper 30s. Low humidity, very windy, quite chilly, to be honest. It feels good with the sun coming up, though. Coffee is heating up right now. It's gonna be a good day. It is chilly this morning, folks. Luckily, we have this hobo setup here, which is blocking out the wind 100%. If it wasn't for this, this would be absolutely miserable. The winds picked up late last night and they just roared all night long. I woke up around 2 o'clock and I heard something screaming in the forest. I don't know what it was. It was too far away really to make it out. I don't know. To me it sounded like a cat of some sort. Maybe a bobcat. I don't know. But it was making an awful racket. I don't think I mentioned this, but speaking of racket, yesterday afternoon I was sitting under here getting ready for dinner and I heard some fighter jets come through, and I'm pretty sure they did a sonic boom. They broke the sound barrier. I mean, it sounded like a major explosion. It was awesome. A couple times a week, fighter pilots will fly the canyon here as they test their maneuvers and whatnot. It is really, really cool to see. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where like you have to be prepared to film it. If you don't know it's coming, by the time you realize what it is, it's over. They're so fast. It sure feels good with the sun coming through the forest here. It's gonna be a nice day. I believe the high today is in the 60s. It's not bad. Unfortunately, the winds are supposed to continue on all day. In fact, the fire danger, the enhanced fire danger, that's been extended through tomorrow. I'm sitting here drinking coffee, thinking about what I'm going to do. Already, it's 8:15. I could make a big breakfast. I have the works with me. Eggs, sausage, veggies. The unfortunate thing is that I'm not someone who likes to wake up and eat breakfast instantly. I'm just not feeling it. It's kind of my style, right? Some people, they love to cook. I don't. I like to make a good dinner and that's it. Everything else, I like to be very simple, very easy. If you have been around on the channel for a while now, you know that. Cheers, folks. This is what I like to have for breakfast. Coffee. I don't know exactly why this has come to mind, but when I was younger, one of my favorite things to do with my friends was urban explore. Go explore abandoned buildings, houses, and whatnot. As you can imagine, out here in the South, there's plenty of both. There's old houses out in fields. There's old buildings that have been closed down and whatnot. A few towns over, even more so out in the country, there was this abandoned medical building. It was huge. And I believe it had been sitting with nobody using it for like 12, 15 years, something like that. I'm not exactly sure why they closed it down. I'm not sure of the history there. But, I mean, it was massive. So my friends and I, we would go there from time to time to explore it. On occasion, we would do ghost hunts and stuff like that. Never really saw anything, but we did catch some, like, weird EVPs and stuff. That place was so interesting to explore. For whatever reason, like when they closed that place down, they didn't take anything out of it. So it was full of like medical documents, x-rays, people's files and stuff. So we would just walk around the place exploring it. Like some of the windows over the years have been knocked out. I don't know if that was due to weather, storms, vandals, whatever. Just in case you don't know this, if you don't keep a building environmentally controlled, the building will begin to break down almost instantly, and that is what had taken place with that building. All of the floor tiles had come undone. All of the panels in the ceiling had pulled out because of the moisture that they had absorbed. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to urban exploration, oftentimes you are trespassing. You're not supposed to be there, and that is certainly the case with that medical building. Now, of course, everybody went there. It happened all the time, and I even have a funny story about it. I'll get to that in just a second. That night we go in, we explore, we're coming out. At that point in time, everybody smoked, including myself, so we stopped, we had a cigarette. We were about to leave and go walking down the road to our vehicles when my buddy said, let's just smoke one more. I don't know why he said that, but I am so glad that he did. So we went ahead, we smoked. At that point in time, right in the middle of that second smoke, there was a cop car down at the end of the driveway where we would have had to walk out. We would have walked out right in front of him. He was so well hidden. If it wasn't for my buddy wanting to have another smoke, we probably would have been busted that night. So at that point in time, we decided that it was no longer worth it. We didn't want to get in trouble, nothing like that. I mean, we weren't doing anything bad. We weren't destroying the place. We weren't stealing anything. We were just exploring a cool old building. Yeah, that was the last time that we went urban exploring. But gosh, it is so much fun. Exploring old buildings, to see how things were made, see the quality. Oftentimes with older buildings, the craftsmanship and the workmanship was really, really interesting. Really, really good. Yeah, so I told you that I had a story to tell about that place. So after we saw the cop was there patrolling the place, we decided we were not going to come back. A few weeks later, a town councilman was arrested for stealing a door off of a refrigerator or something like that from that place. I'm not exactly sure what they did with it or how they even got caught, but they were. Could you imagine being arrested for stealing a refrigerator door from an old medical building? That sounds so stupid. My friends, thank you very much for joining me for this adventure. I hope you all have had a great time just like I've had. This was a fantastic trip at a beautiful campsite. It was very windy. We had some forest fires in the area, but yet we had a good time. Folks, I will see you all next week. Take care, be well, strength and honor. See ya. Let's go home.